Welcome to Britain's Newsroom. Some breaking news this last couple of minutes. A migrant has died in the English Channel as they attempted to cross to the UK this morning.
The body was brought to Dover Harbour alongside dozens of other migrants.
A quick warning, some of the footage you're about to see may be distressing. GBNews Home and Security Editor Mark White joins us now for the latest. Mark, what's happening, please?
Yeah, well, our producer, Chris, was in his position overlooking Dover Harbour as always when a Border Force vessel, Typhoon, came into harbour. He got shots of what should have been just a routine unloading of that Border Force vessel, 51 migrants on board, but it soon became apparent, and you're looking through quite hazy images there because of the sun, but it became apparent with Coast Guard personnel going on that there was indeed a body on board. That body has been carried off now, covered and in a stretcher, taken to a nearby blue forensic tent that you can see on the left of the picture there. Police also in attendance. Unknown at this stage the cause of the death, but we know we've had drownings, we've had migrants who've been crushed to death and suffocated because of the vastly overcrowded boats, and there have even been migrants that have hurt each other, injured each other, stabbed quite seriously on occasions, fighting to get on these boats. So that information will come out in the fullness of time. But what we can report at this stage is one migrant has died in the Channel this morning, hundreds more attempting to cross to the UK.
Well, thank you for joining us there. Our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. You'll be bringing us all the latest throughout the morning. We'll get some reaction now as we're joined by our panel, GP and medical writer Dr Renee Honderkamp and political commentator Andy Williams. They're joining us in the studio. What do you think there? We heard Mark White's report. Another migrant has died in the Channel.
Look, it's tragic, isn't it? Nobody wants anybody to die anywhere in the world. You know, somebody he didn't expect, or I assume it's a he, as most of them are, it might be a she, that when they made that journey, they weren't going to make it to the other side. And that's absolutely tragic for everyone involved. It just demonstrates why these boats have to be stopped. You know, there's lots of other reasons they have to be stopped, but that's one of them. We can't have people undertaking a journey that may involve them dying.
Yeah, it's kind of, Andy, the forgotten side of it, isn't it? We've got the cultural concerns this end, the money being spent on migrant hotels, but also, at the same time, people are dying in the Channel when this crisis isn't being sorted.
Yeah, and Renee used the word tragic, and that's exactly it. You know, what it speaks to, I think, is yes, some of these people are economic migrants, we know that, but not all of them are. We don't know what situation this person was in, but it speaks to the desperation of these people, that they're prepared to undertake such a dangerous journey that it's, you know, life-threatening. And I don't know how many people have died now over the last few years, but it's a significant number.
Do you think the government cares about this crisis?
Yeah, I think it really, really does care. I think it's a very, very difficult problem.
Why are numbers up so much then?
Because it's a really difficult problem to resolve, and it's something that has been, you know, those numbers have gone up and up and up over the last 10, 15 years. You know, it was a disaster.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBNews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Under the Tories, I think Labour's making progress, not least in terms of the relationship that it's building with France.
How are they making if numbers are up 40%, how are they making progress?
Because I think they're making progress towards finding something that will be more like a solution. But in the short term, they were never going to come in and wave a magic wand.
Well, they were, because if they hadn't have come in and cancelled the Rwanda scheme, which you may say didn't work... Well, how do you know it wasn't a deterrent?
Because there's no evidence that it was.
Well, because they didn't let it start. So if there'd have been planes leaving on runways with people, so on the other side of the channel they thought, well, hang on a minute, if I go there, I might go straight to Rwanda. It may well have worked. We will never know, because Keir Starmer decided to throw away every £1 million that we'd already, I think it was 400 million, 700 million that we'd already spent on it, rather than give it a go. If he'd have said, look, do you know what, we'll give it a go, and if boat numbers don't go down immediately, then we'll scrap it, that would have been the more sensible approach. But no, because he wanted to score points against the previous government, he said, no, let's just scrap it. And let's just waste all of that taxpayers' money. And the result of that is 40% increase in the boats coming over, because they now know that if they arrive, they will never go home.
I actually think Keir Starmer looked at it and said, let's not throw good money after bad. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses. That money was not wasted by the Labour government. That money was wasted by Rishi Sunak, who, by the way, gave an interview the other week where he said, I wish I'd never said stop the boats. I mean,
Well, he's changed the rhetoric, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's saying smash the gangs. But do you think he's had any kind of success? Because when you look at the figures, it doesn't really look like he's had much.
No, I think clearly it's not made an impact yet. But I do think it looks like particularly in terms of coming towards an agreement with France, I do think there's...
What, the one in, one out agreement?
Yeah.
Because you know what, I need to thin out my wardrobe. But if I work on a basis of one in, one out, I'm never going to thin out my wardrobe.
Quite the metaphor.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the reality is, we're never going to get to a position where it's zero. We're not going to have...
Why not? Why such a defeatist attitude?
It's not defeatist, it's realistic.
Australia
It's not
did.
realistic. It's not unrealistic at all. Australia, and I hear the argument that it's a different body of water and so on and so on.
Completely different. It's not remotely comparable.
The boats back. Under the UN Convention of the Law of the Seas, I think it's Article 46, if you can declare a national emergency and you turn the boats back. That doesn't mean attaching some ragged rope to a vessel and making them sink. They transport them into very seaworthy lifeboat-style vessels and they turn them back. And if it's not back to France, it's to some offshore processing site.
Can you please tell me where is the landmass that's 20 miles off the coast of Australia?
Well, what difference does that make? It makes it easier.
Difference.
Well, surely it makes it easier.
Easier to what?
Because there's a smaller body of water that has to be policed, and these boats turn back, Andy.
It's a shorter journey.
Yes.
And there's more people wanting to
So we
come
just
over here.
have our boats patrolling that water, and when they set off from France, as Ben says, they're picked up and taken back.
This is why we need a proper agreement with France, where they play their part, because we know we've given France 500 million or something.
I'm sick of hearing about France and our partners in Europe.
That's absolutely the
interest of the United Kingdom. I don't care what France does or what agreement. We gave them £500 million a year, and do you know what they were doing? They were sinking sambucas down at the Working Men's Club when they're meant to be patrolling the beaches of Calais. They're a joke. The France don't like us. Europe, I must say, is very bitter towards the UK after voting for Brexit. Why are we relying on the French to secure our own borders? It's a joke, Andy.
Of course we're relying on the French because they're coming from France.
So we're relying on the French to secure our own borders.
We're not
what
relying...
a joke. I mean, all our brave sailors from back in the day would have been absolutely rolling in their graves.
We're not relying on the French, but it's just a fact of life that they are coming from France. So, of course, we have to... Ben, people like you who say, let's not cooperate with France, like, that is the problem. We have to cooperate with France.
I'm not saying don't cooperate. I'm just saying that you cannot rely on the French to secure
they don't like us, we can't rely on them,
borders.
don't trust us. Like, actually, diplomacy is quite important. And the best thing that Keir Starmer's made a ton of mistakes since he became Prime Minister, but the best thing he has done is he has rebuilt our relationships with our key allies across the world. He's managed the relationship with Trump as well as anybody could. And he's restoring our reputation that was trashed over the last few years.
Wow, that's amazing. Meanwhile, small boat migrants are up 40% year on year.
Yeah, short term.
Well done.
We've had 9 months. Like, let's see where
How
we
long
are.
do you want?
Well, these problems cannot be resolved overnight. They're complicated. They're difficult.
Labour promised
and populists.
Labour promised to decrease the hotels. They've increased them. They've opened more. The only people benefiting from that are the migrants that arrive and get put into hotels and the hoteliers who are now making billions from hotels that usually would have been empty.
Yep.
Those are the people that are laughing. The taxpayer is crying because just on Friday alone last week, I think it cost £28 million a year to house those people that arrived on those days. That's my money. I didn't consent to these people being in hotels. I would rather my single parent mothers who are living in multi-occupancy houses had those hotel rooms, frankly.
Right, Dr. Renee, Andy, we're going to have to leave it there. Very complex issue. We have got some stories to talk to you about, but we'll have to do that in the next hour now.